It's adventure time! Oh! Почет, товарищ! My name is Calvin, welcome to That Russian Gamer Guy, welcome back to Hercule Poirot, and here we go, chapter number 7. Let's go right away and see what is up. So as we figured out last time, it's very crazy because it appears that actually the killer, it might be someone from staff, not from the guest, but staff, and we're gonna investigate it right now. Berto? Wait, who? Oh, Ernesto. First floor. Okay. It looks like Elizabeth is on her way to see me, but at such a late hour. Oh my gosh, look at her eyes. She be like possessed. Creepy.
Mademoiselle, what a pleasure to see you.
Detective,
Sup?
It's a rather late hour to be wandering the halls.
Oh, yes. Of course. I do not feel myself, Detective.
But I feel myself. Ooh, feels good to be lonely. Top down those butts while I've been around. Let's funk downtown.
If that
Anyways.
is the case, you should be resting. Allow me to help.
No, that's quite all right. I will see to my duties and return to bed.
Bitch, what? What was that conversation? Oh.
Lizzie, excuse me, Elizabeth. Lady Van den Bosch has been waiting for some time now.
Oh, yes. Sorry. Detective Poirot was just...
I'll see to the detective. You just head on up. Off you go.
Good night, Detective.
Bonne nuit.
Mademoiselle Elizabeth is certainly not herself. I thought the death of the Major has brought up uncomfortable memories of her beloved Luke, but it may be something else. She be a killer. I'm telling you.
I'm sorry about her, Detective. As you can see, she is still not back to her usual bubbly self.
At least you are back.
This weekend seems to have taken quite a toll on her.
She'll be right as rain in a couple of days. Now, what can I help you with?
You can rain on me. Rain on me. Rain.
As if by magic you appeared when needed. I would like to speak with you and the remaining staff. If you could gather them in the staff pantry.
My gosh, I'm such a
At this hour, Detective.
public
Is that
speaking
really
person.
necessary?
Yes, it is.
I shall be the one that determines what is and what is not necessary, and this is very much the former.
Right?
As you wish, Detective. I'll see if Inge is finished preparing for breakfast.
Oh wait, I gotta remember, Inge.
And Mademoiselle Rihanna?
Yes, of course. I'll fetch her from the kitchen. Elizabeth may be some time with the lady of the house. Perhaps you'd like to start with us?
Very well. I shall speak with Mademoiselle Elizabeth when her duties are complete.
While I am gathering the staff, Mr. Beckers is in the library. If you wish to join him, I could bring you both a nightcap.
I wish to keep a clear head, but there is something I wish to discuss with Monsieur Beckers.
This is my opportunity to confront Monsieur Becker about his dealings or lack thereof with Monsieur du Silva without being disturbed. Alright, so let's go ahead and talk to him. He said, he's where? Monsieur Silva, what's up? Family. Hugo? Okay, nothing. Nothing as for now. Let's go downstairs. We cannot go downstairs, Jackie. Oh, okay, library. He's in the library. Alright, late night. And it's still like, it's, the whole thing is 2 days right now. Like, it was 1 day, now it's the 2nd day. I wonder how long we're gonna be, running. Doing this stuff. Okay, here he is. Hugo, what's up?
Monsieur Beckers, it is rather late. The other guests have already retired to their rooms.
I didn't even see the time. It's easy to lose oneself in a library this impressive.
That is something we can agree on, monsieur.
I suppose I should be heading.
Un moment, monsieur. There are some matters that we must discuss.
Oh, what is it, Detective?
Oh, I did not realize your relationship with Mademoiselle Conrad was so business-oriented.
I'm not sure what you mean.
A proposal to make you somewhat of a star, a figurehead for the working man. What would you call that?
There was certainly no talk of making me a star. That is not the type of man I am. She wanted to write a piece on my work with the union, and I was happy to oblige.
Monsieur Becker has always appeared to have the workers' intention at the forefront of his decisions, but perhaps the thought of being remembered for something great was too much for him to pass up. I was wondering, did your speech go the way you expected?
My speech? I'm not sure what speech.
You may save your false ramblings for your next audience. I am aware you spoke with the Major yesterday.
Whoever told you that has it wrong, Detective.
Please, monsieur. The truth.
Okay, fine. Yes, the Major and I spoke, but it was not for long.
What was the manner of your conversation? From what I understand, it was not a light-hearted chat.
I was trying to convince him to speak with Ernesto. It's time we brought the strikes to an end.
And that was best approached by a shouting match?
He wouldn't listen to a word I said. I spent so long preparing how I was going to convince him, but men like him are only swayed by one thing: money.
One for the money out, two for the sold out show. Oh my gosh, that was crazy. Monsieur Becker is not wrong. Had he tried to grease the Major's palm, perhaps he would have been more successful.
It is said that money is the root of all evil, but it can also be a rather powerful bargaining chip.
Also, money could be the anthem of success. So before we go out, what's your address?
Well, he was bargaining with people's lives. If he had acted sooner, none of those men, my men, would have to die.
The Major oversaw security at the factories. Could he have done more to stop the strikes turning violent? I understand Monsieur de Silva had prepared a deal.
A deal? It was an insult.
And that is why you did not sign it?
I didn't sign it because the workers deserve so much more, not his pathetic attempts to get them back to work.
Did you think there was a chance for a better deal to be made?
I know there was. He's a pompous swine that cares for only himself and filling his pockets.
I'm sure I have heard that description of Monsieur de Silva before, or at least something similar. Push on Jacqueline's influence over Hugo.
Mademoiselle Conrad can be quite convincing, can she not?
She has certainly taken several wealthy business partners by surprise with her knowledge and prowess. She knows how to use her womanly powers to get what she wants.
But she did not surprise or use you?
Me? Used me? Don't be ridiculous, Detective. There were no games played at my expense.
Monsieur Becker has quite a way with words and is a fan of his own voice. Perhaps I should allow him the opportunity to speak and open up without too much interruption and forcefulness. Okay, I'm sure many have been persuaded by her feminine prowess, even though she was able to convince you not to sign a deal. I mean...
Perhaps some.
Shit.
I'm not so easily manipulated or simple-minded.
Antagonistic direct.
And I stand by that. It was an insult.
A rather bold move to make such a decision on your own.
Accusing honest.
I may not be perfect, but I've done everything I can.
Your efforts fell short in every respect. You claim to be the voice of the people, but you care about no one's voice or benefits but your own.
It's not as easy as just signing a piece of paper, Detective. It is a heavy weight to bear on one's shoulders. I consulted with others.
You yourself spoke of Mademoiselle Conrad's cunning in business.
And I told you, I was not one of her targets.
Tell me then, what was it she reminded you of? The acclaimed man of the people you would be known as if you pushed the factory owners for more?
It wasn't like that at all.
From where I am standing, it was she that was manipulating the terms of the deal, and you in the process. You were merely her pawn.
Okay, yes, I know. I shouldn't have listened to her. But what else could I do? Remain an unknown my whole life? I didn't mean for anyone to get hurt.
It may not have been your intention, but we both know the result. You rolled the dice with those men's lives for fame, and you lost.
You did it all for fame. You did it all for fame. Pardon my intrusion, but you are from a large family.
What does that have to do with anything?
I have often wondered about the competition siblings face in a large family.
When you're young, it is the best feeling to know you have family that will stand by you, without even being asked. It is not until everyone starts carving their own path that you realize you're walking yours solo, and those that were beside you are now miles away. My other brothers were the athletes of the family. They both played soccer and were the infatuation of every teenage girl. I'm sure you have seen the type.
Oui, monsieur, but I can assure you that was not I.
Then there was me. Quiet, timid, a shadow of the Becker brothers. My voice and very presence was forgotten and ignored. Nothing I could say or do would ever reach the bar they had set. But I always knew I was destined for great things. Years passed, and now that I no longer stood in the colossal ombre of my brothers, I could become my own man. When the position of union leader was posted, it was my chance to finally be heard. You hear politicians speak of the little or the common man? Well, that was me. And I knew what we wanted and what we needed. When I spoke, others listened. I held their gaze with a sense of pride, a sense that what I was doing was for the greater good. It was supposed to be my crowning achievement, lead the men to victory over the money-grabbing oppressors. But instead, all I did was lead them to their deaths.
Monsieur, it was not at your hands that these men died. The blame cannot lie solely on your shoulders. Those responsible will be punished for their crimes. That you must trust.
Monsieur Becker's story is one of the fighting to have one's voice heard, be it a single or one of the masses. I'm afraid he may be remembered for what he did, but not in the way he hoped. Okay. Well, okay. Still nothing. Well, I talked to him. Let's talk to Jesus. I'll talk to Jesus. Yeah, yeah. While speaking with Monsieur Becker was not the reason for me being up in this hour. He was able to fill in some of the blanks regarding the Major, but not in getting any closer to discovering his killer. Perhaps the staff living quarters will. Let's go. Hey, what's happening? Where's staff living quarters? South? Wait. Downstairs? Downstairs. Yeah, they probably living downstairs. There's something new. Butler's pantry. Staff quarters. Here we go. We haven't seen it before, huh? Or have we? Oh shit. He looks nasty. Why it's so nasty though? Newspaper. They are a few days old and do not hold a candle as to what has transpired here this weekend. What about luggage? Who's leaving? A award medal that I assume must belong to the Major. Cupboard. Nothing. Okay, I mean, Hamlock. I'm glad I'm a guest of the house. I'm not sure how well would I sleep in such a contraception. What? I said what? Oh my god. Metal, newspaper. It doesn't look like there's anything else useful. Abandoned clothes. A rather luxurious jacket, the initials read FH, Felix Hagen. Are these scruffy boots his as well? Why would they be left here though? The items I have found are most intriguing and require an explanation that I believe only the staff can give. I shall meet them in the pantry.
Detective, what can we do for you?
You can help me by telling the truth, and in the process, help yourselves.
Sorry, Detective. It's a bit late in the night for riddles.
It is no riddle, monsieur. If I do not receive the truth, you shall all be charged as accessories to murder.
Detective,
He not playing.
I think maybe you have been locked in this house for too long. We have already...
You have told me a version, and now I require honesty.
Okay, let's talk to Inji.
Mademoiselle, I shall keep my questions brief.
I don't know what else I can tell you.
You have been honest with me so far. All I request is that you continue to do so.
Oui, detective.
I'm already aware of Mademoiselle's involvement with the blackmail, but I'm not sure if she's also connected to the Major's murder. Tell me what happened before you found the Major's in his study.
It was frantic in the pantry. We were working hard to make sure everything was up to scratch.
Go on.
Then Liz burst in, asking for Maman's help.
Her help with what?
I don't know. She took Liz to one side, and I was needed in the salon. We spoke just after that in the pantry.
You did not question what she needed help with?
I was too busy. I love Liz, but she sheds a tear at almost everything these days. Although, I have never seen her look so pale.
Mademoiselle Elizabeth still looked pale when I saw her earlier. I understand the amount of work that goes into keeping a house of this size running, but Madame cannot expect the stuff to work if they are ill. Perhaps Mademoiselle Rihanna can clear up the reason for Elizabeth's
Merci.
panic.
I shall return if I have any further questions.
Rihanna. Rihanna, what's up? Ella,
Mademoiselle,
Ella.
I shall be as quick and precise with my questioning as possible.
Okay. What do you need?
She was like, okay. My condolences on your brother's passing.
Merci. He was a good man. Taken too early.
Forgive me, mademoiselle, for not extending them earlier, but I was not aware of your relationship.
He was my only brother. And he died doing what he believed was right. If I ever get my hands on who took him from me.
I understand why she's so angry for her brother to be taken from this world at such young age, and in such a violent manner. Violence cannot be met with violence, but I'm not sure Mademoiselle feels the same. With her ultra-violence, baby! Pardon-moi, Mademoiselle. I know we have spoken on this, but you took Ice to the Major, correct?
Yes.
This was before or after Archibald took him a bottle of whiskey.
Before.
You are sure?
It may have been after.
The whiskey is kept in the cellar with all the alcohol.
It is.
Then you must have noticed him going into the cellar and returning with a bottle through the pantry, no?
Yes, I suppose I did. It must have been before then.
It took only one question for Mademoiselle to doubt her own story. What I still cannot see is why the need for the lies. Tell me about your brother's involvement in the riots in the factory.
You say the riots, but it was the strike he was part of. They started the riots, not the workers.
By they, you are referring to the security forces. They were brought in to keep the peace.
Security, huh? They were brought in to make an example of them. It was all peaceful until they arrived.
Why would they need to make an example?
So that the workers would stop rallying. No one is going to go on strike if they think they'll get killed. The security you talk of were armed and ready. The workers were pigs to the slaughter. What chance did they have?
It is obvious Mademoiselle is still upset about her brother's death, and rightly so. If the events were as Mademoiselle describes, I cannot comprehend how the security forces were able to get away with such despicable acts of violence. Tell me about Elizabeth yesterday.
What is there to say? Being locked away in the pantry, I don't see her for most of the day.
That may be, but she came looking for your help before dinner was served, did she not?
She wasn't feeling well, that's all.
And she came to you.
I told you, we are a family here. The girls come to Mama Reh if they have a problem, and I fix it.
Reh?
When I saw her earlier, I must admit she was not looking herself. Perhaps I should check on her.
No, just leave the poor girl. She'll be fine after another bowl of my homemade soup. She just needs her rest.
Nice soup. I'm sure Mademoiselle Rihanna is a loving mother figure to the staff while away from their families, but her eagerness to keep me from seeing Mademoiselle Elizabeth again does not sit comfortably.
Merci, mademoiselle. That is all for now.
Mademoiselle Julietta, pas vraiment la tête, choisir entre Montaigu Capulet.
Monsieur Sterling, is there anything you would like to add to your story?
I'm not sure what you think I have done, Detective.
Let us not string out this charade any longer.
The telephone call the Major received.
From his associate. I've already told you, Detective. I don't know who it was.
I mean, nobody, because the lines are not working for a week
Do not
already.
worry yourself on such details now. I suppose they were lucky to have called when they did. Otherwise, they may not have gotten through at all, with the telephone lines being down as of yesterday.
Aye, Detective. Lucky, I guess.
Monsieur Sterling is no fool. I believe he is aware. I suspect him of something. Perhaps some carefully worded questions are all that are needed for him to slip up. You were the last to see the Major alive when you brought him the bottle of whiskey in the study, huh?
Whiskey?
You took a bottle of whiskey to the Major. You spoke with Monsieur Demire en route.
Aye, of course. It was a bottle he picked up from his last visit to Scotland. Rather smoky number from the Highlands. He was saving it for a worthy occasion. Drowning his sorrows must have been fitting enough.
At first he doesn't remember a bottle at all, and as if by magic he recalls the exact details.
Or was it the one from the West Coast? You'll have to excuse my memory, Detective. It's not what it used to be.
He bullshitting me. Can you explain why a medal belonging to the Major was amongst your belongings?
Oh, you found it. Thank you, Detective. I've been looking everywhere for it.
If I had lost a war medal, I would not stop until I found it.
It's not what you think. I was...
Exploiting a dead man's military achievements for your own personal gain?
Nothing of the sort. He asked me to clean them up. I must have dropped it into my pocket when I was putting them back. An honest mistake.
Never have I heard such a pathetic excuse to explain a stolen item in one's possessions. I would expect a better lie from an enfant. I cannot claim to be an expert, but I would presume a medal like that would be quite of some value.
I wouldn't know. Probably.
Your father was in the military for many years. That is what you told me.
He was.
And your family still keep his medals.
They were sold.
And why was that, monsieur?
Is my family on trial now, Detective?
Only you, monsieur. And I repeat my question.
Only you.
Because we needed money.
Voila.
Monsieur Sterling was well aware of the medal's value when it found its way into his belongings. You claim the Major asked you to clean the medals for display purposes.
No. He keeps them safe with some of his old military documentation.
Is that a typical job for the head butler?
He trusts me to do a good job. I told him I used to clean my father's, so he asked me to do the same.
And where does he keep these items?
In the storage room. I know where everything is, so it's just easier if I fetch them for him as and when he needs them.
I do not recall seeing any military what? Or keepsakers when I was in the storage room. Could there be another storage room he speaks of? Are you happy here at the Wonderbush house?
Certainly better than my last.
You are paid a fitting wage for the work that is asked of you?
I'm sure the lady of the house would not want me discussing it. But I should not complain.
That is not the most convincing answer, monsieur.
Between you and I, we all work very hard here. And it would be nice if we were rewarded for it.
It seems Monsieur Sterling is trying to convince me, as he has himself, that his light-fingered actions are justifiable due to the petite wage he receives for his honest work.
Please don't go anywhere. If I require more information, I shall call on you again.
Oh boy, let's investigate now. So, Hugo saw the Major outside. Worn out boots, the Major coat. Stuff may be involved in the murder. Rihanna unsure about timings. Rihanna believes workers didn't stand a chance. Archibald staged the phone call. Archibald hasn't noticed the lack of calls.
I cannot see the logic in this.
Archibald claims he lost medals. Archibald forgot he took the whiskey. Jesus. Rihanna claims Elizabeth is under the weather. Archibald stole from the Major.
Is there something? I must take a different approach if...
Oh my gosh, I don't know what approach I should take then. Okay.
Magnifique.
The theory that the Major had been killed during dinner was nothing but a ruse. Why are the staff covering for the real time of death? Oh, I don't know. The Major coat, worn out boots.
Come, my little grey cells.
Metal boots.
I must act on...
Oh my gosh. He saw Major outside. Major's
Some
coat.
would say a lucky guess.
The Major would not have left such a fine coat in the staff area. Someone must have worn it. More importantly, however, who wore the Major's clothes? Someone wore Major's clothes. Okay. Gee. Elizabeth is quite upset. Madame pays stuff Archibald stole from Major. Boy, I don't know.
Order and method.
Someone wore Major's coat.
This will not get me a...
Which, I don't know. Staff covering for the real time of death. Rihanna believes workers didn't stand a
I
chance.
must take a different approach.
Worn out boots.
The pieces of the puzzle are fun.
I should have known at first glance these belong to a member of the staff, but who? I don't know.
This will not get me a... I should not be surprised by my own...
How can either of them forget something so important from only the day before? Archibald and Rihanna unsure of their stories.
What a revelation.
Both Archibald and Rihanna played the parts very well. That is until they became complacent. Why did the staff feel they need to fabricate stories? Archibald and Rihanna fabricated the story. Oh.
Order and method. Is there something...
Gee, I don't know.
I cannot see the logic.
Oh, staff member boots, Major coat.
To become...
A staff member dressed in the Major clothes and took his position out in the snow for the guests to see. Why would they do this? A staff member impersonated the Major.
Another success.
I almost had to relay their stories back to them both. I obviously cannot truth a word they can have say. Why are the staff hiding the truth from me? Staff hiding the truth.
The pieces of the puzzle are...
It is a revelation I had not expected. The staff were involved in the murder. While young Ingi is guilty of her own crimes associated with the blackmail, it is Monsieur Sterling and Mademoiselle Rihanna that have been an integral part in covering up and obscuring the truth of how Major was killed. Objective completed. The staff were already suspicious to begin with, but this confirms their involvement. Are all the staff members involved? New mind map. I'm close to revealing the truth about the Major's murder, but I must understand the roles that each and every person involved played before the final puzzle. Okay, Rihanna helped Elizabeth after coming downstairs. A staff member impersonated the Major. Rihanna distract. Luke passed away. Elizabeth mourns for Luke.
I should not be surprised.
I cannot imagine the pain they have felt losing Luke. His memory will live on in their hearts. Elizabeth and Rihanna both grieve for Luke. Elizabeth looked white coming downstairs. Okay.
I must act up.
Ingi feels disconnected from her peers. Archibald staged phone call. Okay.
Come, my little...
Because
Things are beginning to be...
Elizabeth looked pale, and the other members of staff were busy with their duties. She must have found the body, but did she play a part in the murder? Elizabeth found the body.
Another success.
Although her duties are primarily focused in the kitchen and pantry, I don't recall seeing her. Rihanna wasn't seen after Elizabeth found corpse.
Some would say a lucky guess.
Archibald's acting skills came into play to cover for a member of the staff, but who? Archibald was covering for a member of staff. The one who impersonated the major.
I must take a different approach.
No, I'm not so smart.
Is there something?
Wait. Elizabeth and Rihanna both grieve. Look.
I must act on.
I don't know. Elizabeth found the body.
Order and method.
Staff members included
What
in
a
the
revelation.
murder. I'm confident Inji isn't a part of the cover-up that has clearly been a focus for the other stuff. Inji is not involved in the murder. Elizabeth found the body.
This will not get me.
Archibald was covering for staff member.
Magnifique.
The stage phone call was Archibald's assignment. He went to great length to protect Elizabeth, but why did he feel the need to cover Elizabeth? Archibald staged the phone to cover Elizabeth.
Come, my little grey cells.
Uh-oh. Did she kill
I
him?
cannot see the logic in this.
Staff member.
I cannot see the logic in it.
Oh my gosh.
Come, my little grey.
Rihanna wasn't seen after Elizabeth found the corpse. Impersonating the major was Rihanna's role in the plan. Why it was necessary, I'm not sure of yet. Why did she feel the need to cover for Elizabeth? Rihanna was covering for Elizabeth, while young Inji is guilty of her own crimes. Okay, we already heard that. I now have all the pieces of the puzzle. I must return to my room and place them together until the result reveals itself. That's interesting. It's time for my little grey cells to go to work. I'm so close to uncovering the truth. Let's do it. Okay. Jesus. Rihanna was covering for Elizabeth. Archibald staged the phone call to cover Elizabeth.
Things are beginning to be.
How could I have allowed this to slip through my grasp? Elizabeth is the murderer. Here we go. Freaking Elizabeth. Oh my gosh. I cannot believe I did not see it, blinded by my own trust. When I look back now, the clues were there, staring at my face. I spent my time chasing connections between the guests. Their motives and agendas were more than enough to raise suspicion, but while distracted by them, I failed to notice the one absent member of the household. Boys, girls, everybody! I was telling y'all this from the very beginning. Elizabeth wasn't there, so it was her. Yo, I'm better than Poirot. What I still cannot grasp is why. I cannot grasp why he couldn't see it at the beginning. I promised myself that after that fateful day in the capital, I would not let my judgment steer me adrift. But once again, it is I left looking the fool. There is nothing more that can be done tonight. I must at least try to rest my head in preparation for confronting Mademoiselle Elizabeth in the morning. Chapter 8, baby, here we go. Chapter 8, The Truth. Alright, sounds cool. What in the world? Has an elephant escaped and made its way to second floor? It sounds as though it's coming directly from above me, but what is in the storage room? Well, let's go. Let's go. Southeast quarters. First floor. Okay. Wait, he said I should go where? He said I should go where? Investigate the murder. Bitch, he said I should go where? Okay, this one is closed, this one is closed, this one is closed. Upstairs, downstairs, upstairs. Okay, oh, okay, so, there was something on the second floor. Let's investigate who was that. Wait, where is this strange door? Storage room. Oh! Why would Monsieur Sterling be in here clattering around in the dead of night? Archibald is up in the middle of the night making some amount of noise. I must find out the extent of his behavior. Let's do it. So, what's up?
Monsieur Sterling,
Oh, Detective, I was just...
please. I eagerly await to hear what reason you give for being in the storage room at this hour.
A butler's job is never...
I am no fool, monsieur. You have spun enough stories this weekend.
Honestly, Detective, you don't trust anyone.
And with good reason.
My patience has all run out.
I've been thinking about my time with the family.
I often think on fond memories, but it does not take me to a storage room in the middle of the night.
There are many memories held within these walls. I just wanted to see them again.
Monsieur Sterling sounds as though he has plans on leaving the house. It sounded as though you were moving furniture in here.
I didn't realize the noise I was making.
Obviously. Were you preoccupied looking for another of the Major's medals?
Of course not. I already explained.
No, monsieur. You attempted to dupe me again into believing one of your stories.
Please, Detective. I know you know how it ended up in my possession. I was just trying to get some extra money together to send home. I can't lose this job. If Lady Van den Bosch found out...
Theft of a medal would be the very least of your problems.
Oh, you have done nothing but deceive and abuse your position in this house.
I'm sorry that I lied to you about the medal.
Even when confronted, Monsieur Sterling still remains steadfast and refuses to acknowledge what he has done.
Would you care to explain the fake telephone call? It was purely for my benefit, no?
Why would I fake a telephone call?
The same reason that Mademoiselle Rihanna dressed in the Major's jacket in the snow. To allow not only the guests, but me to believe the Major was still alive.
I didn't kill him, Detective.
I know, monsieur. But I also know that you helped the one that did to cover their tracks.
It wasn't like that. We were just trying to help. She had no part in it.
Both you and Mademoiselle Rihanna risked your freedom to help
You
Elizabeth.
never let on. How long have you known it was her?
Monsieur, I am Detective Hercule Poirot. I only show my hand when I deem it necessary.
Yeah.
You will be taking her away then.
She will stand trial for what she has done.
But you don't know the full story. She is just a servant in this house. If she is arrested, that will be the end for her.
If Mademoiselle was only protecting herself, as you both have claimed, she will surely be found innocent.
You have still not explained what you were doing in here.
The Major's military storage box.
The one that stored his medals.
Amongst other things, yes.
And those other things are...
I had to protect her. If you found it when searching the study, you would have carted her off then and there.
Whatever it is you have hidden, it will not remain that way for much longer.
Monsieur Sterling is obviously hiding something. I should perhaps conduct my own search for it instead of relying on his cryptic messages.
I need a moment.
Let's do it. The chiffre. Archibald. Oh, we don't have anything. Wait. Detached saint carving.
Huh.
One of the many saint carvings from around the house, abandoned in a box. Why is this saint carving in here? Maybe because it's... One of the Bosch secrets may be in this room.
Magnifique.
The detached carving might relate to a door in this room. This would explain Archibald's presence. A secret room. Archibald claims there is more to the story.
I must act up. Order and method. I should not be surprised.
Archibald must have hidden items in the secret room. I presume this exists within here somewhere. Find it. Inspect furniture. This appears to be nothing here. Nothing, really? Ooh, under the carpet. There appears to be nothing here. Oh my gosh. Well, but there's nothing else. Should I talk to him?
There is no use.
I need a moment.
And I cannot leave. Here we go. A hidden room. It seems there are more secrets in this house to discover. Military service box. The Major's military service box. It contains letters and keepsakers. Expensive lighter. An expensive looking lighter. It looks to have, unfortunately, been through a war. Come, my little grey cells. Letter. The last will and testament of the late Vicomte. It seems he truly loved Angeline. Last will and testament. Declaration. I declare that I, Vicomte van der Bosch, am of sound mind. This last will expresses my wishes without undue influence of or duress. Article 1. In the event of my death, I hereby appoint my wife Cassandra van der Bosch as the executor of the van der Bosch estate, and I leave the remaining wealth held in the van der Bosch name to my only daughter Angeline van der Bosch. Any outstanding debts, expenses of my last illness, funeral expenses, and administration costs are to be paid from the van der Bosch accountant at the National Bank of Belgium. To my daughter Angeline, you are the apple of my eye and the brightest star in the sky. Never allow your light to fade for even a moment. To my wife Cassandra, thank you for the many joyful years we have laughed, we have loved, and we have brought the most precious of gifts into this world. I trust that you will protect her and prepare her for the future full of opportunities and hope. Vicomte van der Bosch. It's very sad. He didn't even know that it's not his daughter. Prestigious looking knife, likely belonging to the Major. Let's investigate now. Alright, well used. Unrecognizable symbol. Bloodstains. Rose engraving.
What a revelation!
This lighter must belong to the Major, the army symbol all, but confirms this. But don't I already have this in my possession? Military lighter. Empty canteen, a standard military box, war map. The Major's lighter.
Another success.
The lighter I found in the military box is certainly the Major's, meaning the other one is not. Okay. Rose engraving, bloodstains. Potential murder weapon.
Some would say a lucky get.
The murder weapon has been found. Elizabeth must have used this in the study. Talk to Elizabeth? Back to Archibald.
There is no use lying anymore.
When I inspected the garden yesterday, I found the lighter. I assumed it belonged to the Major.
He always had his regiment lighter that he received in the war on his person.
And yet, it was not his regiment emblem that was engraved on it.
My father's. It must have fallen out of my pocket. You still have it, detective.
Monsieur, you have stashed evidence, manipulated a crime scene, obscured my investigation, and yet it is a lighter that you worry about most?
If it is my path to end up behind bars for what I have done, so be it. It is Elizabeth that you cannot allow to be locked up without the truth being told. I have heard how you fought for that young maid before. Florette, is it? I only ask that you do the same for Elizabeth.
Although the cases differ greatly in severity, I can envision the similarities in how Mademoiselle Elizabeth will be treated by those in positions of authority of social standing, even before she is tried. It is my oath as an officer of the law to uphold justice and fairness. Mademoiselle must be given the chance to prove her innocence before the court as any other suspect. The absence of murder
You
weapon.
found it.
Even the secret area that has been created here is not concealed enough to stop Detective Hercule Poirot.
Stop doing this, detective.
I couldn't just leave it at the scene for you to find.
The Major was killed by his own knife. The knife that protected his life during the war would eventually be the one that ended it.
That's
It was
crazy.
in his holster when he attacked her. He had hold of her arm. What else was she meant to use to get him off of her?
I cannot imagine the Major would have given his knife up easily. She must have been in close proximity to reach it. Perhaps he did attack her, as she
She
claims.
didn't plan any of it, Detective. She was only defending herself.
That is what Mademoiselle told you?
She did, and I believe her. You think you knew the Major, but you had no idea. He was a monster and had more secrets than all of us combined.
That may be true, but that does not excuse what she has done.
Put yourself in her shoes for a minute. If a man like that had attacked me the way he did Lizzie, I would have done a lot worse to him.
Mademoiselle Elizabeth has told me you're still in a version of the events that suggests she was attacked by the Major. I struggle to believe that she would make such a story up, but then I also did not believe she could do such a thing as commit murder.
I need a moment.
I mean, it was self-defense, huh? Well used, okay. What's new? Archibald was in the garden.
Some would say a lucky guess.
If the only thing I found was Archibald's lighter, he must have collected something else. What else did Archibald collect from the garden? Defensive strike. I mean, murder
Things are
weapon?
beginning to become...
Archibald dropped the murder weapon from the window, collected it, then hid it in the secret room. Okay, so what?
There is no use.
It was you that I saw in the garden that
When
night.
you asked me yesterday about seeing someone out there, I thought the game was up.
That does not explain what you were doing out there.
When Lizzie took me to the study, the knife was still in the Major's chest, and I knew I had to get rid of it. I dropped it out of the window, knowing no one would be going outside. It was fine for the time being, but I couldn't risk it being found when the snow melted.
So you collected it under the cover of darkness and stowed it away in here where you thought no one would find it.
After your questioning in the pantry, I knew you were onto something, and I couldn't leave it here.
And where did you plan on moving it to?
Honestly, I don't know.
Poor baby, collecting the item and hiding it to save Elizabeth. He must truly want to protect her from the law. Talk to him again?
There is no use.
I have one last question. Why?
Why I would risk everything to help Lizzie?
Exactement.
Because she is family. If you were in that position, you would do the same.
I can assure you, monsieur, that I would not.
Then perhaps that says something about you, Detective. I would do anything for her, for any of my staff,
Even if it means crossing the boundaries of the law.
without question.
The lengths that Monsieur Sterling would go to protect someone he considers family is admirable, but when those lengths break the very law that are in place to protect the innocent, they cannot be ignored. I mean, I actually kind of feel sorry for Monsieur Sterling, because he actually protecting his family, and it's nice. I ask that once your morning duties for the ladies of the house are complete, Mademoiselle Rihanna and yourself wait in the staff quarters.
Aye, Detective. But please, you have to help Lizzie. It was all an accident. She doesn't deserve to spend the rest of her days behind bars because of that man.
If she is put behind bars, it is because that is what the courts have decided upon.
Detective, you can't be so cruel.
It is not cruelty, monsieur. It is the law.
Ooh, he not playing at all. After all the further revelations, my mind is as busy as Monsieur's Goulet chocolate shop. I have all the pieces of the puzzle to deduct why Elizabeth killed the Major. Now I must allow my little grey cells to put them together. After finding those documents in the hidden room, things are starting to fall into place as to why Elizabeth may have killed him. Luke died at this factory strike. Ernesto paid the Major well for his support.
This will not get me any... Is there something I am not...
Elizabeth is the murderer.
I must take a different approach if I am...
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, I don't know. Let's see. Major paid blackmail ransom. Major killed prisoners at war.
Come, my little The pieces of the puzzle are fun.
This information would have destroyed his reputation if unveiled, a strong motive for blackmail. Major was being blackmailed over war crimes. Major is receiving a pension.
I should not be surprised.
Okay, the Major's financial struggles must have left him in need of source of income. Who could the Major have turned to in his time of need? The Major was desperate for a well-paid job. Ernesto paid him.
What a revelation.
The Major needed the job to go ahead. It was the only way to guarantee money in his pocket. What could he do to ensure the job would be complete? The Major needed to ensure the job was done. Security attacked first.
Magnifique.
So, to secure his payment, the Major must have ordered the attack the strikers. What were the consequences of the Major ordering the first attack? Luke died.
Another success.
The Major's actions unfortunately led to the death of Luke, and all for greed. Who would have been most affected by this? I mean, of course her.
The pieces of the puzzle are...
Elizabeth has probably lost more than anyone else involved. She may have sought her revenge. Elizabeth doesn't seem like the vengeful type, but all signs are pointing of her seeking revenge for her beloved Luke. Objective complete. If I am confronting Mademoiselle Elizabeth, I must be at my best and my little grey cells at their most alert. It is time to at least try and rest. I have no time to wallow in my lack of sleep. I must confront Mademoiselle Elizabeth and hopefully finally know the truth of what took place.
Detective Poirot, I'm glad you're awake.
Bonjour, mademoiselle. It has certainly not been a night of peaceful sleep. There is something that we must discuss.
Please, Detective, I'm not sure I can take any more surprises like last night.
I'm afraid this may be the most upsetting of them all.
You have found Felix's killer, haven't you?
I have. And the guilty party will certainly come as a shock.
I take no great pleasure in telling you this, mademoiselle.
Detective, please.
It was Mademoiselle Elizabeth that was behind the Major's death.
You must be mistaken. Elizabeth could not do such a thing.
I assure you I am not. It is something I spent much of last night deliberating. When you spoke of the telephone lines being out of order, it made me question the conversation I thought I had heard Monsieur Sterling make with the Major before connecting the call to him.
But it hasn't been working all weekend.
Exactement, mademoiselle. That is when I knew I had once again been lied to.
On my way to speaking with Monsieur Sterling and Mademoiselle Rihanna, I met Mademoiselle
She was
Elizabeth.
meant to be resting in the staff quarters. She has not been well.
I am afraid that was yet another lie, orchestrated to keep her from incriminating herself.
Why would you think that, Detective?
I only managed a few words with her before we were quite abruptly interrupted by Monsieur Sterling.
I must admit, he has a habit of speaking over the other staff.
It was much more than merely disturbing our conversation. It was done with the intention to prevent Mademoiselle saying something that she should not.
So, Elizabeth killed Felix, and then Archibald helped her cover it up?
In its simplest form, oui. I have heard it directly from the horse's mouth.
You have spoken with Elizabeth already? Did she admit to it?
Not Elizabeth, but Monsieur Sterling.
Were you not woken last night by tremendous amount of noise?
What were you doing in there, Detective?
It was Monsieur Sterling that I found in there. I was taken by some surprise to hear anyone awake at that hour.
What on earth was he doing?
He claimed he was merely reminiscing of his time with the family.
You don't believe him.
It did not take long for me to uncover the truth of why he was there, and the location of the Major's murder weapon.
Oh, did you know of the hidden area?
Hidden area?
A room that held all of the Major's secrets.
I had no idea. Did you discover the reason for his blackmail?
I did. Were you aware he was dishonorably discharged from the army?
Dishonorably? What does that mean?
I will not hide the truth from Mademoiselle, but I will try and be as delicate as possible with the news of Major's prior actions. I'm sure you are aware of Monsieur Zacharias' trouble he faced from his time in the war.
Gideon told me about the conversation you had. It is really quite upsetting.
Zachariah was adamant of the Major's cruelty during the war, but the extent was not known until now. He killed a number of prisoners, men that were friends of Zachariah.
Surely not. He would not do such a thing. They must have been trying to escape.
I am afraid not. They were in fact unarmed.
Bitch, and this man is her papa.
Oh, detective.
It is the reason he was discharged, denied his military pension, and I believe the reason he fled England.
He had been such an important part of my life for so long, but I feel like I hardly knew him.
Monsieur Sterling was a man of Mademoiselle Elizabeth Innocent.
Innocence? You said it was she that killed him.
It was her hand that held the knife, but he was quite insistent it happened in self-defense.
In all of the years I have known her, she has barely even raised her voice. I cannot believe she would do something like that out of malice.
The whole truth cannot be known until Mademoiselle Elizabeth has told her story.
I allowed my perception of her character to conceal any though of her involvement. It seems I'm not the only one. The time has come to confront Mademoiselle Elizabeth.
Will you allow me to be present?
I think that is an excellent idea. I hope your presence will calm her and will perhaps allow her to speak more freely.
Please, detective. I know she has done a terrible thing, but I beg of you to give her the time to explain herself.
I will offer Mademoiselle Elizabeth the fair trial that she deserves, as I would with any suspect.
Thank you, Detective Poirot.
Would you bring Mademoiselle Elizabeth to the study, where we will not be disturbed?
Of course, I'll find her immediately.
You know what? Being a detective is quite a draining thing. I believe what Monsieur Sterling has already told me about the events that occurred between Mademoiselle Elizabeth and the Major. I do not believe she would have had to do what she did if he had not attacked her and pushed her to the point where she feared for her life. Must listen to her story, the truth, and only then can her punishment be determined. I don't think there should be any punishment at all.
Mademoiselle Elizabeth, merci for joining us.
Miss Angeline said you requested to see me urgently.
We have some serious matters to discuss, and I would like to waste no further time.
Oh, yes, Detective.
How are you feeling, Mademoiselle?
Still not quite myself.
I was surprised when Monsieur Sterling hurried you to assist Madame Vandenbosch last night.
I should not have avoided my duties for so long. The house does not stop because I'm feeling a little under the weather.
That is true, but you cannot be expected to complete all your tasks if you are not in the right frame of mind.
Okay.
Honestly, Detective, it was best for me to not sit and wallow anymore.
My investigation has taken me down many paths this weekend.
Have you been able to uncover who the blackmailer is?
The blackmailer's identity has been established, and they will pay the price for their crimes.
Wonderful news, Detective. You can put it all behind you now. You must be thrilled.
I would not say thrilled, knowing that such a close friend has betrayed us.
Mademoiselle is correct. What I have learned over this weekend is that people are not always as they appear. While they may give an impression of being a friend or ally, they can in fact be something completely different.
And, what of the Major's killer?
Well, Mademoiselle, that is why I have asked you here now.
I posed the question to all the oh my gosh, let's
I'm
just
not
go.
quite sure what you want me to say, Detective.
Your honest opinion is all I ask, and, s'il te plaît, do not hold back. No one else felt it necessary.
We only spoke when there was something in the house to be done. We did not speak of interests or pastimes.
You knew of his work with Monsieur de Silva?
I only know what is required of me to know, and that is very little.
But you were aware of his work as security at Monsieur de Silva's factory.
I was.
The factory your beloved Luke worked at before he was cruelly taken from this world.
Yes, Detective.
I understand Luke was not only involved in the strikes, but was on the front line.
Yes, that is where he spent his last moments. Standing shoulder to shoulder with his fellow workers.
The resulting riots were a terrible tragedy. One that I hope we will not have to see or experience again. Something that could have been avoided had the Major and his team done what was required of them.
Nobody deserved to die that day. Not my Luke.
Do you blame the Major for his death?
Detective, what kind of question is that?
It is a straightforward one. Mademoiselle, if there is something you wish to tell me, now is that time.
I'm sorry, Detective, I just don't know how to answer it.
Let us consider what we know of the Major. He fronted the militia that attacked the workers at the strike. You were aware of this? You finally had someone to blame for Luke's death. Someone conveniently located in the same house, alone in his study.
No, Detective. It wasn't like that.
Tell me what happened with the Major on the evening of his death.
I was only in here trying to prove what I heard Mr. Beckers say. I was going to report him, I swear. Miss Angeline, you believe me, don't you?
I want to. I am still trying to understand it all myself. Why don't you start from the beginning?
I was delivering Miss Angeline's dress to her room when I heard Mr. Beckers arguing with the Major in his study. They were ever so loud. I thought the whole house would have been listening to what they were saying. Mr. Beckers was talking about the factory strikes and how it was the Major's fault. He told him that if he didn't own up to his crimes, he would go to the newspaper.
I cannot imagine the Major would have taken kindly to Monsieur Beckers' threat.
He didn't. He called him some rather uncouth names before Mr. Beckers left and went downstairs. I made sure to keep out of sight. After the altercation between the Major and Master Gideon, you went to speak with him outside, and I thought I could look around his study without anyone knowing. I had to know for sure. If it was true, he deserved to be held accountable.
And did you find the proof you are looking for?
I found a payment from Mr. De Silva, but there was nothing incriminating about that. I was so nervous. I felt like my heart was beating out of my chest.
And then you saw the blackmail note.
I recognized the writing on the envelope. I couldn't believe it. How could he do such a thing to Angeline? To the family that had taken him in?
Common sense would determine the Major was another victim of the blackmailer.
If I'd have used common sense, I wouldn't have been snooping around alone in his study in the first place. I heard the footsteps in the hall, and before I could move, the Major was standing in front of me, demanding to know why I was going through his belongings without permission. I tried to come up with an excuse, but nothing came out, and when he saw the letter in my hand, it was like Dr. Jekyll turning into Mr. Hyde. I tried to move around him towards the door, but he hurled something towards me, and it crashed against the wall.
That would explain the damage to the wall.
I froze. I have never been so scared in all my life. I thought he was going to kill me there and then.
And you thought you would beat him to it?
Oh, Detective, you make it sound as though I had it all planned. He lunged forward and grabbed me by the arm. I tried to push him away, but he was too strong. His grip just got tighter and tighter. If only you had seen the look in his eyes, I dared not even scream. I saw the sheath on his belt. I didn't know what else to do. I didn't want to hurt him, but he wouldn't let go of me.
So you took your opportunity to put an end to it all.
I just wanted to get him off me. I didn't want to hurt him. I reached for it and I jabbed it at him. His grip instantly loosened and I ran straight out the door and didn't look back.
You did not even look to see what state you had left him in?
She had just been attacked, Detective.
Yeah.
Oui, please. Continuez.
Poirot, chill.
I ran down to the pantry looking for Rahana. She took one look at me and knew something was wrong. I explained to her what had happened and she went to find Archie. She said he would know what to do. We went back to the study and he was still lying there, motionless. Archie said that no one would believe me. That if someone like me killed someone like him, I would be sent straight to the gallows. He left the letter so you would find it. He said that if people knew what the Major was really like, then they wouldn't care what happened to him.
So I am to believe that it was Monsieur Sterling and Mademoiselle Rihanna that cleaned the scene and orchestrated a plan that included a fake telephone call and dressing as the Major so that he may be seen. You had nothing to do with that.
I swear I had no idea that is what they had done. Archie just told me to stay out of sight. I'm no master criminal.
Then Monsieur Sterling and Mademoiselle Rihanna will be charged for obstruction of justice and impeding my investigation.
Please, Detective, they were only trying to help me.
If they wished to help you, they should have brought all of this to my attention immediately instead of committing more illegal acts.
Surely you haven't forgotten what happened with Florette. She was only accused of stealing a bracelet. I killed a man.
It is a day I have not forgotten, mademoiselle. Even for a moment.
Without your help, I don't stand a chance. Please, Detective Poirot, you are the only one that can help me.
Oh, Elizabeth, why didn't you come to me?
I didn't think you would believe me. I felt so guilty. And when it was announced yesterday that he was a victim of the blackmailer, I wanted to tell you everything. I came to find you last night, Detective, but Archie stopped me. I'm sorry.
Come on, little Graycell, let us solve this mystery. What? There's no mystery no more. What else do you want to solve? Wait. Elizabeth was looking for proof of the strikes. Elizabeth stabbed the Major when he wouldn't let her go. Elizabeth was possibly seeking revenge. Defensive strike.
Things are beginning to become...
Elizabeth's story confirms Margot's claim the Major's death was the result of defensive strike. Finally, I have solved the case of the Major's murder. I must admit, I take no joy in declaring Mademoiselle Elizabeth as a killer, and I wish she had never been put in such a position at all. Oh my gosh, is this the end?
Oh, yes, Detective.
The Major's missing knife.
I don't know where it is.
If you have been honest with me until now, I ask that you continue.
I'm sorry, I really don't know. Archie dropped it out of the study window and he said he would deal with it. I couldn't bear to touch the thing.
I have the knife in my possession, and I believe that from Mademoiselle's reaction, she does not know what became of it. She is unaware of the efforts from Monsieur Sterling and Mademoiselle Rihanna when to mask what she had done. Monsieur Sterling was not lying when he said he would do anything for her. Merci, mademoiselle. S'il te plaît, wait in my room.
Please, I was only protecting myself. I didn't want to hurt him. He just wouldn't let me go.
Oui, mademoiselle. I know. Mademoiselle tells quite the harrowing story.
I cannot imagine the Major acting in such a way. But Elizabeth could not make up such a story.
After learning what I have about the Major's character this weekend, I would not question the lengths he would go to in order to keep his secret hidden. I know that you share a close bond with Mademoiselle Elizabeth, but you cannot allow your personal feelings to taint your belief of what took place.
She has committed a terrible crime, but she will live with that for the rest of her life. She is not a cold-blooded killer.
Absolutely true, let
If
her
what
alone.
she says of the Major's attack is true, she acted in self-defense. And in the law's eyes, a crime has not been committed. I will do everything I can to make sure her story is heard and a fair trial is conducted.
I believe the version of events of the Mademoiselle Elizabeth has confessed to a true. The Major, having fallen into a fit of rage at the prospect of his sordid secrets coming to light, he attacked the young Mademoiselle and drove her to do what she had to protect herself. She put herself in a dangerous position, but there is a small part of me that commands the duty she felt to find justice for her beloved and the other workers that lost their lives at the Major's order. If the telephone line is not working, I must call in my findings with the remaining snow. It may still be some time before they
Mademoiselle,
arrive.
It is time I address the house.
Are you sure? What will you say? What if they do not listen?
I can assure you, they will.
Elizabeth was right, though. She's just a servant. What if they...
Mademoiselle, when Detective Poirot speaks, they will listen. Would you ask the guests to convene in the library?
Of course. And what of the staff?
I have told Monsieur Sterling to remain in the staff quarters with the others. When the authorities arrive, they shall be dealt with. You have been of great help to me throughout my investigation, and now that it is over, I have one final request.
You only need to ask.
While I am speaking with the guests in the library, would you watch over Mademoiselle Elizabeth in my room?
You don't think she will try and escape, do you?
In her position, I do not know what she might try. But I trust with you there, any potential ideas of such a thing will be squashed.
Alright, chapter 9. It's gonna be chapter 9. Alright. The denouement. Alright.
Detective, you have spent more time making us sit and wait for you than anything else.
Madame Van den Bosch, if you think I have spent my time focused on anything besides uncovering the Major's killer, you are sorely mistaken.
I'm sure you will be eager to share your findings with us then.
All in good time, Madame. Firstly, to understand the truth of what has occurred this weekend, one must know the timeline of events that not only preceded the Major's death, but succeeded.
We are all well aware of what happened before, Detective. You can save your breath.
You are only aware of what the guilty parties wanted you to believe, but now I shall apprise you to the true events. The reason for us all being here, you know. The altercation between Monsieur Demire and the Major, you know. The body of Monsieur Hagen was found while we were all sat enjoying a most delicious meal. That you also know. But what was kept from us all was that his body lay on the study floor for far longer than was thought.
It was that servant. She found him.
S'il te plaît, monsieur. It was indeed young Inga that found the Major's body lying lifeless in the study.
So it was her.
Monsieur, I will not allow for any further interruptions. I return to the Major's body. If we are to believe the scene that we were presented with, the Major must have been killed during the first course of our meal, a meal that none of you left, even for a moment. Speaking in the evening, you all confirmed one another's alibis, and although there was doubt in the validity of some, I confirmed that they were indeed all true. What I could not understand was how a man came to be found dead, and every guest accounted for at the time of death. That is until I questioned the latter. Monsieur Beckers, I shall now allow you to speak. You saw the Major smoking a cigar in the snow. Is that true?
It is.
False. You saw what you were meant to see. Someone in the Major's coat standing outside, giving the illusion that the Major was still very much alive. Monsieur da Silva, on the afternoon of the Major's death, do you recall hearing a telephone ring?
Now that you mention it, I have not heard a single ring all weekend.
Correct. The telephone lines have been down for the duration of our stay, meaning the telephone call that was received and promptly directed to the Major's study was yet another act of trickery and deceit. But it did not end there. When I entered the study for the first time, it was obvious someone had already been there and falsified the scene to stage a burglary and clear away important evidence, including the murder weapon. What followed was an investigation that had already been hindered. But even those lengths were not enough to derail me for long.
I think we have all had enough of your self-praise, Detective. Perhaps you would like to tell us who killed him now?
Right?
Madame, as I'm sure you would expect, it is not as simple as that. What many of you do not know is the discussion that was had between the Major and Monsieur Beckers earlier that day.
What has that got to do with anything? I told you I didn't kill him.
That I know to be true. What you do not know is that it was not only his ears that heard your spoken words.
I hope you are not implying I had something to do with it.
No, madame, there was another. Mademoiselle Elizabeth. You are all aware that the Major was hired by Monsieur da Silva to front the security during the workers' strikes. What very few of you know is that it was the Major's order that instigated the vicious attacks on those unarmed men and resulted in numerous deaths, including Mademoiselle Elizabeth's fiancé, Luc. Monsieur Beckers confronted the Major, declaring that he was to hand himself in. That is what Mademoiselle Elizabeth overheard. Now, knowing the truth, she waited until the Major was away from his study. After he stepped outside following the confrontation with Monsieur Demire's fist, it looked to be the perfect opportunity, or so she thought. The Major returned and found her looking for the proof she required to hand him over to the authorities.
If the maid bumped him off, why hasn't she been arrested?
The events that followed in the study are not those of a cold-blooded murder, but one of a young girl that had no other option but to protect her own life.
Sounds to me, Detective, like you have taken a shine to this young girl and would rather protest her innocence than arrest her for murder, the crime she has committed.
Jeez, this is gonna make for a juicy story.
Mademoiselle, I ask you this. You have seen the Major's anger before, oui?
What if I have?
How do you think he would have reacted if someone was to find proof that he had committed a terrible act, and that if made public, would surely result in his incarceration? Exactement.
It is quite the story you have told, Detective, but all I have heard is that Elizabeth overheard a conversation blaming the Major for her fiancé's death, and she murdered him in revenge. A servant killing a man that is as revered as he was. She will face the noose.
She's so mad all the
The
time.
man has lost his life, but it is not the crime of murder that you all believe. While the Major did not deserve to die in such a way, it was his actions towards Mademoiselle Elizabeth that drove her to defend herself in any way she could. Mademoiselle Elizabeth will be punished, but we will let the law decide the severity of her punishment.
She has played you like a fiddle, Detective, acting the innocent victim. She will be arrested and hanged for her crime, like every other cold-blooded killer.
Here.
Give her what she deserves.
The girl has got to pay for what she's done.
I could not have been clearer with what occurred in the Major's study. They all have forgotten their own perceptions of the Major, the terrible crimes he has committed and what he has done to them, all in one way or another. I cannot allow for Mademoiselle Elizabeth's sentence to be negatively influenced by those in the house. I must help them to see how their past actions have led to the unfortunate circumstances and losses of life. Perhaps I should remind them all of their participation in not only the workers' strike but the resulting riots.
Those of you that are calling for the hanging of Mademoiselle Elizabeth, have you forgotten the roles you played? Your actions have been far from innocent.
Look, Detective, I see where you are going with this, but it's not going to work. So maybe the strikes were down to De Silva and Beckers. But don't try and drag me into their mistakes.
Mademoiselle Conrad, if you are so confident of your innocence, perhaps we should begin with you.
Convincing Mademoiselle Conrad to admit to her involvement will be not easy feat. She's a strong, had deflected questions in the past. Perhaps a more aggressive approach is in the order. What? Okay. Neutral accusing. You would do almost anything for a fair headline.
You don't need to imply it's only me that does. Ask any of my journalists, they'll say the same.
Even if in the process people are hurt? You knew the situation surrounding the strikes and only sought to swell the anger in people and create further chaos. Mademoiselle, you so often have something to say. Now is not the time for silence.
You really are delusional.
Maybe you should just keep your theories and claims to yourself.
Forceful. You used others for your agenda, now considering the repercussions. I do not know of any field that would sacrifice their lives of others for gain.
Talking of sacrificing lives, have you forgotten what you have done?
Frustrated, you cannot honestly believe that what you have done is acceptable. You have allowed others to fall while you walk proudly across their backs.
Look, it's...
Mademoiselle, I do not have time for your excuses. Do you wish to state your direct involvement, or should I?
It's not... Okay, fine. Yes, the story was going nowhere. There was a deal on the table, and it was going to be done and dusted. Everything you said is true. I wanted the story. The scoop that would have blown the others out of the water. I never wanted anyone to get hurt. But I can see what I did wasn't right. I didn't think you had this side in you. I can see now why Angeline asked for you personally. You're not like other cops. It's clear it's the law and doing the right thing through and through with you. If you say it was self-defense, I believe you.
We can't just forget what that girl has done. It's not Jackie's fault, or any of ours, that she decided to do what she did.
Monsieur Beckers, you are the last person I expected to defend Mademoiselle Conrad. We talked only last night, and correct me if I am wrong, but you have already declared the role you played. To me, at least.
Yes, we talked. It's just not fair of you to attack Jackie like that, putting words in her mouth until she succumbs to your plan.
I know enough of Monsieur Beckers to know that pushing him will not yield the result I need. Playing the role of an ally may be the best way to approach him. Cynical, you did not consider how a strike could turn violent and endangering your men. Direct, even as a leader of the union, you were swayed by one that had no part in any union's dealing. What?
This is ridiculous. It was a peaceful strike. We only wanted what was deserved. Surely you do not think I sought to worsen the situation?
Monsieur Beckers, you have taken the words from my mouth.
Jackie was documenting everything to do with the strikes. She wanted our story to be heard and wanted to know how I was handling the negotiations.
And they were handled by yourself?
Naturally. If I cannot handle simple negotiations, I am not fit to be in the position I am in.
Oh, sarcastic. You take great pride in your work and you are proud of the decisions made during the strikes. Mademoiselle Conrad swayed, influenced, and manipulated your every decision.
No, it wasn't like that.
This is not a tale that has been created. The facts I speak came directly from your mouth yesterday. Why is it you cannot admit she exploited your passion and desire for your men in front of the other guests?
Nothing is ever simple, Detective. I'm sure you understand that better than anyone.
Neutral. Frustrated. Monsieur Beckers, you have continued the pageantry long enough. It's time for truth to be told. You have fought for those that do not have a voice. Surely you will not allow another one to be lost in the wind of social discrimination.
You're right, Detective. I have tried so hard to deny my part, but I know only too well that my decisions led to the death of those men. I know I cannot excuse what I've done. I just want you all to know that I am not a hateful or malicious man. I only wanted to prove that I was the right man. I have lived in other shadows for so long. I thought I would be able to finally step into the light and be the one that everyone remembered, not forgot. Monsieur da Silva offered me a deal and I turned it down. I thought I was doing right by the workers, but it was only myself I was thinking about.
What more proof do you need? He said it himself. I made a generous offer to reach a resolution, and he turned his nose up at it.
It was not that simple, though. An offer was made, but Monsieur Beckers and the workers would never have been forced into that position had their working conditions been satisfactory to begin with.
This is outrageous! Do you plan on blaming everyone for doing their jobs? I suppose it makes you feel better about yourself, doesn't it?
This Monsieur Ernesto is so annoying, like, oh my god. Although Monsieur de Silva eventually opened up, he was defensive when we discussed the matters of his blackmail, and that was a private conversations behind closed doors. Cannot imagine he will be forthcoming in front of the other guests. He's going to need some convincing to admit his faults again. If you were simply doing your job, treating all your men fairly, there would not be a strike to talk about.
It may be a big deal to you, but I am used to workers not being happy with something. And most of the time, that unhappiness is directed at me. When you're in charge of your own factory, you'll understand. I handled the situation the best I could. If you think otherwise, maybe you have proved us all right, that you aren't the great detective you claim to be.
Okay, anything I claim to be is supported by facts and truths. Threatening. The desire to hide one's secret is a powerful force. I wonder how easily yours is broken. Straightforward. You were willing to pay an anonymous blackmailer that accused you of the same.
You said it. Anonymous. I don't know them, and it doesn't sound like they know me. When you have something people want, money, they will do anything, including constructing lies to get their hands on it.
Monsieur da Silva, you seem to have forgotten our previous conversations.
I recall them just fine, thank you. A police officer trying to manipulate facts to fit his own agenda. Shocking.
Well, claims of abusive against your staff, and the hiring of a militia, okay.
Is that what you plan to do? Accuse us all of something until we feel enough.
The event
Okay.
Apparently anyone can become a detective now. I really don't know how you gained your title.
through order and...
Order?
Okay,
Monsieur
let's
da
do it
Silva.
again.
Detective, you would do well not to anger my friends.
It was not my intention. I only want those responsible to be held accountable for their actions. The Major's death does not fall on one person alone. Does your position on Mademoiselle Elizabeth's guilt remain the same?
I thought you can go back, but actually you cannot. Wow.
Even after all your attempts, Detective, Felix was still murdered. Self-defense or not, she chose to hide what she had done because she knew what she had done was wrong. And she will be punished for it.
Oh my
It was
god.
not choice to hide anything, madame. If in her position, I ask, what would you have done? The Major has already furiously thrown an object at you, barely missing your head, and now has hold of your arm.
I wouldn't have driven a knife into him, that I can tell you for sure. She is no fool. She intended to kill, not to defend.
Madame Vanderbosch will be a much greater challenge, but my method of approach has worked with her before. If I am to sway her into seeing that Mademoiselle Elizabeth had no other option, I must persuade her that it was the Major's action. Okay, suggestive. You were the closest to the Major. His violent temper cannot come as a surprise. I like it.
Quite presumptuous of you to assume violence is in his nature.
Putting my own feelings towards the Major aside, he was not an honorable man, at least at some time in his life. He must have been for you to allow him in your house for so many years. So, even you confirm he had a history of aggression.
Direct. The Major was dishonorably dismissed from the British military.
I'm sure that is none of my business. Likewise, it is none of yours.
The Major shot and killed a number of unarmed prisoners as they were bound and terrified, posing no threat. His actions are unforgivable and should not be defended by anyone.
You judge him so harshly, but I return the question. What would you have done in his position? He had made mistakes. I will not deny that. In those moments when a decision had to be made, it fell to him, and he did what he saw fit.
Straightforward, sympathetic. Making a poor decision once is a mistake. Making it twice is a choice. Ooh. And what of the mistreatment that you received from the Major? You can justify that? The Major ordered the attack on unarmed workers. Surely you cannot condone that. I mean, doubtful or sympathetic? Doubtful. Oh,
I
shit.
did not know the circumstances of it. If he made that choice, he must have thought there was no other option.
S'il te plaît, madame. I ask that you consider everything you know of the Major carefully.
My friend has been murdered in cold blood, and you have the gall to ask me to save her? I will see to it that your superiors know of your crooked tendencies and wavering morals.
Shut up, bitch.
Elizabeth will hang for this. There is no more a fitting punishment for her crime.
I knew that you had a cold heart, but never would I have expected to see you turn on a young girl so cruelly.
Excuse me?
She may have been the one that held the knife, but look at the monster that stood before her. It could not be clearer the type of man. No, I shall refrain from offending men everywhere. The type of creature that he was. He bribed, he extorted, he murdered. And yet when he attacks a young girl and she does us a favor and stops him for good, she is punished.
I'm sorry, Margot, but I am struggling to understand why you have involved yourself in this affair.
Because that girl does not deserve your judgment. You should be ashamed of yourself. You all should be for allowing this to happen.
Countess, I have talked at length of the Major's death, but not the reason for my invitation in the first place. When I last gathered you all together, I spoke of a blackmail ring that was rife in the area, and then of the letter that the Major had received. Mademoiselle Angeline requested my help personally after she received such a letter threatening her family name. She felt I was the only one that could uncover the truth. And uncover the truth I have.
Okay, everybody, I just have one question. Why the fuck we talking and talking and talking? We already all know all the facts. Who the fuck cares what all these guests think about Elizabeth, for Christ's sake? It's not for them to decide if she's going to prison or not. Why we're talking? But let's continue.
Get on with it, detective. Who dared try and extort my family and then have the gall to allow me to welcome them into my home?
If it was not for the honesty of a young servant, I would perhaps still be looking for the
For goodness sake, it was me.
Margot, how could you?
While it looked as though the Countess was helping the young women at the shelter, she was in fact only finding them positions of employment in wealthy homes to gather information on them and learn secrets that she would ultimately be able to use against them.
Okay.
Monsieur da Silva fell victim to her network of moles and was in turn blackmailed. It was quite the prosperous setup you had, knowing that they would not be prepared to lose their social standing if a secret was to find its way from where it had been hidden for so long.
That cannot be true, Margot. How could you do such a cruel thing?
That is rich, coming from you.
You are one of my oldest friends.
High and mighty Madame van den Bosch. You think you can do what you wish when you wish it and there will be no repercussions. You are as bad as all of them.
If I do not get a straight answer out of you, I will march you to the police station myself.
I'm surprised it took the Major this long to start living with you. He must have been on the edge for some time.
How dare you speak to me like that? In my own home.
A home you share with the father of your daughter for so many years, and she still remains none the wiser.
You have no right.
Maman,
Angeline? Have you heard what she has admitted to? She is merely trying to make herself...
is what she says true? Felix, he was my father?
Oops.
That is the secret that the letter was talking about, isn't it? You told me that we had nothing to hide. Detective Poirot, were you aware of this?
Oui, mademoiselle. But it was not my place to repeat.
I don't understand. What about father?
Your Maman betrayed the love of a good, honest man and played away behind his back and then kept it hidden for all these years like a lady of the night with her client list.
You will say no more. Angeline, I...
Did Felix know?
This is not an appropriate conversation.
He knew, dear girl. He knew the whole time. It is only dear Edwin that was blind to their deceit.
You will not talk of him like that. You will not talk of him at all.
Or what?
If I don't, Who will? You never deserved him. You don't even deserve the memory of him.
Countess, there is something that you still have not explained.
What more is there for her to say?
How long were you in love with the Viscount for?
Margot? Is that true?
We were destined to be together. And then you turned up. And I was all but forgotten about.
But you were nothing more than friends.
And you made sure of that, didn't you? From the day you arrived, it was all about what you wanted and what you had to do to get it. You didn't consider Edwin at all. He was just a purse to you.
I loved my husband, and I miss him every day.
Loved him enough to stray?
Both of you, no more.
Please, Angela, let me explain.
Maman, I do not wish to hear anything else from you.
Not even your own daughter wants to hear your lies anymore. Cassandra van den Bosch, all alone.
How dare you!
So much drama in this house. What's happening?
While I feel a sense of satisfaction and pride in solving both cases, there is still a part of me that is reluctant to revel in triumph. I am content with the unmasking of Comtesse de Vos as the blackmailer, and knowing that she will pay for her crimes. But it is the justice for Mademoiselle Elizabeth that worries me. She will stand in a court of law, and I can only hope that they can see she acted in self-defense. I must trust that our legal system and justice will prevail, and a fair sentencing will be given. In protecting her own life, she took the life of another. Perhaps the guilt she must live with is a greater punishment than any sentence she can receive.
All right. I think... Oh, that's it.
Comtesse de Vos was taken from Nemozine House in cuffs and placed under arrest. Although she initially tried to plead her innocence, Inge, along with a number of other girls that the Comtesse had found employment for, came forward and made full statements. She was charged with 5 counts of blackmail and extortion and sent to a house of corrections, where she will have a new life to become accustomed to.
That's crazy.
Monsieur Sterling and Mademoiselle Rihanna were also reprimanded for their participation. While they may not be facing time in prison, tampering with a crime scene and obstruction of a police investigation are certainly not something that houses and new employers will look positively on. Mademoiselle Angeline finally became Madame Demire, and together they took up residence in England, where Monsieur Demire continues to support and fight for fairness and equality in London. I am happy to say that we have remained in contact, and Madame Demire has become a regular correspondent of mine. And the latest joyous news is that they are expecting a child of their own.
All right, baby.
After Madame van den Bosch's secret was revealed to the world, her position in the social hierarchy was no more, disappearing in a moment. While she still resides in Belgium, I believe she has had to adapt to a far more modest way of life. A humbling experience for her, I am sure.
That's for sure.
Madame Demire has not mentioned her maman in a single letter. After the discovery of her real father and how she had been lied to for so many years, I am not surprised if her departure from Belgium was somewhat an act of separation from her maman. Mademoiselle Conrad left Nemozine House the same way she entered, confident in herself and audacious in her opinions. Her report of the Major's murder at the house and the surrounding blackmails became one of the most talked about stories of the year. While there were certain details of her own involvement that did not make it to print, she was really quite complimentary about the detective at the heart of the case. Monsieur da Silva tried to continue in his position as factory owner and business entrepreneur, but after his accounts and business dealings were investigated following the details of his blackmail being made public in Mademoiselle Conrad's article, his illustrious business empire began to crumble and is now facing an international corporate investigation. Monsieur Beckers stepped down from his position as union leader, accepting that he was no longer fit to represent the workforce that, in his words, he had let down on a scale of unmeasurable proportion. Although he is no longer the voice of the workers, he continues to support them from behind the scenes. Monsieur Zachariah and his brother made amends, and returning to his family home, and after sobering up, he was able to find the help that he required. I understand that he is now helping fellow soldiers with similar conditions.
Alright, my handsome Zachariah, my favorite person
And
here.
Mademoiselle Elizabeth. She stood before a court and was found guilty of second-degree murder. She was sentenced to time in a female correctional house on the outskirts of the city. Alone in a foreign country with no friends or family for support, it will certainly be a hard life for her there. Her mental and physical strength will surely be tested to their limits, but she could not go unpunished. Without repercussions, we would become a society of animals.
What kind of murder is this? It was self-defense. The heck?
The death of Elizabeth's beloved Luc has been at the center of everything. Had those in positions to help not acted with only themselves in mind, perhaps he would still be alive today, and the Major would have paid the price for his own crimes in the eyes of the law, not at the blade of a knife. The blood of Major Felix Egan will remain on Elizabeth's hands. A stain that wherever she is and whatever she may do, she will never be able to wash clean. However, it will remain as a reminder to not only her, but all of us, of what we as human beings are capable of to protect ourselves. We all have
Protect,
something that may be
bitch!
considered shameful or sinful, and it is how we deal with it that shows our true character. Those involved in the riots, the workers' deaths, and the Major's killing believed themselves to be untouchable. Whether it was from their social standing or their confidence in themselves, they learned that everyone is accountable for their actions. There is no exemption because of the suit you wear or the money in your bank account. There is no price to a man's life. It cannot be bought or traded or discarded. No man is better than another, including Detective Hercule Poirot.
Alright, that's what's up. That was Hercule Poirot. Wow, we finally finished it. It was so long, Jesus Christ. It's like almost 10 hours or something. Wow. I kinda really like the story, you know, detective stuff. It reminded me of Jenny Leclerc, like detective thing. And yeah, it was exciting because I couldn't see. I mean, I knew from the very beginning who was the killer, but then he went to some other direction and it caused me misleading. So I don't know. It was just long, you know. But overall, it's a good game and it was interesting, like watching a TV show and stuff. So yeah, that's what's up. It says it's the first cases. Maybe we're gonna see second game sometime soon. Also, I heard that Sherlock Holmes game is coming out soon, so there's gonna be more detective stories for us. But that's it for today. Don't forget to drop a like, write a comment, subscribe to this channel, and see you next time. Bye!